Sometimes wisdom backfires spectacularly when it meets rebellion. LeBron James thought he could mentor Ja Morant with some fatherly advice about respect and maturity, but instead he got a masterclass in why this new generation doesn't bow to anyone, not even the king himself. We've seen LeBron handle younger players before. Usually his veteran presence and 4 championship rings do the talking, and most players fall in line out of respect for greatness. But Ja Morant isn't most players, and what happened between these two superstars proved that respect doesn't automatically flow downhill based on age or accomplishments. The setup was perfect for a teaching moment. Memphis had just lost a heated battle to the Lakers, complete with physical exchanges and emotional flare-ups. LeBron, playing the role of elder statesman, offered what sounded like constructive criticism about Morant's on-court antics and trash talk, calling it too little, in a tone that reeked of condescension. Bad move, terrible timing, because Ja Morant had been waiting for exactly this moment. "Respect isn't given, it's earned on this court," Morant fired back during his post-game interview. "Don't talk down to me from your throne." Those 17 words didn't just challenge LeBron's authority, they shattered the traditional hierarchy that's governed NBA relationships for decades. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't about basketball anymore. It was about generational change, earned respect versus inherited authority, and whether being great yesterday gives you the right to lecture someone who's dominating today. What followed was a social media earthquake that divided the basketball world into camps and forced everyone to pick a side in a battle that would define how superstars interact in the modern NBA. The tension-filled setup, the Memphis Lakers matchup, had all the ingredients for fireworks. Both teams were fighting for playoff positioning, both had stars with something to prove, and both carried the kind of competitive edge that makes regular season games feel like postseason battles. From the opening tip, the intensity was palpable. Ja Morant came out aggressive, attacking the rim with his usual reckless abandon and talking trash to anyone within earshot. LeBron, meanwhile, was operating in full veteran mode, picking his spots, conserving energy for crucial moments, and generally playing the kind of chess game that separates legends from everyone else. The pivotal moment came in the third quarter. Morant had just finished a spectacular dunk over Anthony Davis, flexing toward the crowd, and letting everyone know he owned that moment. LeBron responded with a smooth three-pointer on the next possession, followed by his own celebration, a subtle but unmistakable flex that seemed designed to put the young guard in his place. That's when things got personal. Morant, never one to back down from confrontation, shoulder-checked LeBron on the next dead ball. It wasn't flagrant enough for a technical, but it was clear enough to send a message. "I'm not intimidated by your reputation." LeBron smiled, that knowing smile veteran players get when they think they're dealing with an overeager youngster. That smile would come back to haunt him. The game continued with escalating tension. Every made shot became a statement, every defensive stop a declaration of dominance. By the fourth quarter, both players were locked in a personal battle that transcended team basketball. Do you think LeBron's veteran mind games were justified given his experience, or was he disrespecting Morant's established star status? Memphis lost the game, but Morant's performance, 28 points, 12 assists, and several highlight reel plays, proved he belonged in any conversation about elite guards. The loss stung, especially given how close they'd come to stealing a win in LA. After the final buzzer, both players showed what appeared to be mutual respect. Handshakes, brief conversation, the usual professional courtesy. But something in LeBron's demeanor suggested he had more to say. That something would come during his post-game media session, when a reporter asked about Memphis's competitiveness and Morant's leadership. LeBron's response would light a fuse that he didn't know existed. The stage was set for a confrontation that would reshape how we think about respect, authority, and generational change in professional basketball. LeBron's condescending comments. LeBron James has mastered the art of saying one thing while meaning another. His post-game comments about Ja Morant were a clinic in diplomatic disrespect, technically complimentary words delivered with just enough condescension to cut deep. "Ja's a talented young player," LeBron began, using that tone teachers use when they're about to explain why your answer is wrong. "He's got a lot of energy, a lot of passion, but sometimes that energy needs to be channeled better." The reporters sensed something brewing. LeBron rarely offered unsolicited advice about opponents unless he was making a point. "I've been in this league for 21 years, he continued, leaning back in his chair with the confidence of someone who's never been challenged. "I've seen players come and go, and the ones who last are the ones who understand that respect is earned through consistency, not just highlight plays." Then came the line that would ignite the controversy. "All that trash talk, all that extra stuff he does, it's too little. It's not enough to move the needle. When you're ready to have real conversations about being elite, Then we can talk." The room went quiet. LeBron had just publicly dismissed Morant's entire persona as insufficient for truly elite status. It was masterful in its subtlety. He never called Morant weak or untalented, but he'd positioned himself as the arbiter of what constitutes legitimate greatness. "Memphis played hard tonight," LeBron added, seemingly returning to diplomatic territory. "But playing hard isn't the same as playing smart. Sometimes you have to know when to dial it back and let your game speak." The implications were clear. Morant was too emotional, too flashy, too young to understand what real championship-level basketball looked like. LeBron was offering wisdom from the mountaintop, expecting gratitude for the lesson. Was LeBron offering legitimate mentorship, or was this a calculated attempt to get in Morant's head for future matchups? What made the comments particularly cutting was their timing. Morant had just dropped 28 points and 12 assists in a competitive loss to the defending champions. He'd gone toe-to-toe with LeBron and proved he belonged on the same court. For LeBron to frame this as a teaching moment felt dismissive at best, disrespectful at worst. The basketball media immediately picked up on the tension. Within hours, clips of LeBron's comments were circulating on social media with captions like "King James schools young player" and "LeBron drops wisdom on Ja Morant." But nobody asked Ja Morant how he felt about receiving this particular education. That oversight would prove costly. Ja's nuclear response. Ja Morant was still in his uniform when reporters cornered him about LeBron's comments. Someone had shown him the clips on their phone, and you could see the exact moment his expression changed from post-game fatigue to focused anger. "Y'all want to ask me about what LeBron said?" Morant asked, his voice carrying that edge that anyone who's watched him play recognizes as dangerous territory. The reporter nodded, probably expecting a diplomatic response about respecting veteran players and learning from their wisdom. Instead, they got a declaration of independence. "First of all, respect isn't given. It's earned on this court," Morant said, looking directly into the camera. "Don't talk down to me from your throne like I haven't proven myself night after night." The room shifted. This wasn't the usual young player deferring to veteran leadership. This was a direct challenge to the established order. "I put up 28 and 12 against his team tonight. I've been to the playoffs. I've carried my team. But somehow that's too little." Morant's voice was rising now, the frustration from years of being dismissed bleeding through. "LeBron's had a great career, but that don't mean he gets to lecture me about how to compete. I've been doing this my way since day one, and it's gotten me pretty far." Do you think Morant was right to defend himself publicly, or should he have handled this privately with LeBron? Then came the line that would dominate social media for weeks. "If talking trash is too little, then maybe he needs to turn up his hearing aid because I've been plenty loud." The dig about age was unmistakable and devastating. Morant had just called LeBron old to his face, metaphorically speaking, while questioning whether the king still had the edge to compete with the new generation. "I respect what he's accomplished," Morant concluded, "but respect goes both ways. You want to earn my respect? Do it between the lines, not in press conferences." The interview lasted another 5 minutes, but those soundbites were already racing across social media, setting up a generational battle that would consume basketball discourse for months. The social media explosion. Within 30 minutes of Morant's response hitting social media, the basketball internet exploded into the most passionate debate of the season. Feu sucio. Ja's LeBron became the top trending topic worldwide, with fans, analysts, and current players choosing sides in a battle that transcended basketball. Team Morant came out swinging immediately. Younger fans flooded Twitter with highlights of Ja's best moments, accompanied by captions like, "This is what too little looks like," and "Respect isn't inherited." The narrative was clear. An entitled veteran was trying to diminish a rising star's achievements. Dame Lillard, never one to shy away from controversy, tweeted, "Young King stood on business, respect." Trae Young added fuel with, "Energy don't lie. Some people see confidence as disrespect because they ain't got it no more." But LeBron's supporters weren't backing down quietly. Lakers fans created counter-narratives focusing on championships, longevity, and the value of experience. The most viral tweet came from a fan account, 4 rings versus 0 rings, conversation over. Current and former players split along predictable lines. Veterans like Chris Paul and Kyle Lowry subtly supported LeBron's position, emphasizing respect for accomplishments and experience. Younger players rallied around Morant's right to defend himself against perceived disrespect. How much should past accomplishments matter when evaluating current criticism? Does winning championships give you the right to publicly critique other players? The media coverage was relentless. ESPN dedicated multiple segments to analyzing every word of both players' comments. Stephen A. Smith defended Morant's passion while questioning his wisdom. Skip Bayless, predictably, used the controversy to attack LeBron's leadership qualities. But perhaps the most telling responses came from neutral observers who saw the exchange as emblematic of larger cultural shifts. Sports sociologists noted that Morant's response represented a generation unwilling to accept traditional hierarchies simply because they existed. International media picked up the story, with European outlets analyzing it as a uniquely American phenomenon where individual respect supersedes collective achievement. The controversy had evolved beyond basketball into a conversation about generational change, earned versus inherited authority, and whether the modern NBA could handle multiple alpha personalities coexisting without traditional deference structures. The lasting impact on NBA culture, the LeBron James controversy, fundamentally altered how the NBA community discusses respect, hierarchy, and generational change. What started as post-game comments evolved into a case study for how modern superstars navigate relationships with established legends. LeBron found himself in unfamiliar territory. For the first time in his career, a younger star had publicly challenged his authority and emerged with increased credibility rather than diminished standing. The traditional mentor-student dynamic that had defined his relationships with younger players was shattered. Privately, veteran players expressed concern about what they saw as erosion of respect for accomplishments. The unwritten rule that past success earned you deference in current debates was being questioned by players who believed their present performance spoke louder than historical achievements. Morant, meanwhile, became a symbol for players unwilling to wait their turn in line. His willingness to challenge LeBron emboldened other young stars to speak more freely about veteran criticism and perceived slights. The media coverage revealed generational divides among analysts and fans. Older commentators generally supported LeBron's right to offer criticism based on his experience. Younger voices argued that criticism should be evaluated on its merit, not the speaker's resume. Do you think this confrontation was healthy for the NBA, creating more authentic competition, or damaging to the league's culture of mutual respect? Team dynamics around the league shifted subtly but meaningfully. Veteran players became more careful about how they criticized younger teammates and opponents. Young players felt more empowered to respond to perceived condescension. The controversy also highlighted how social media had democratized sports discourse. Previously, veteran criticism might have gone unanswered or been addressed privately. Now every comment became potential content for public debate. NBA officials noted increased technical fouls and emotional exchanges in games involving generational matchups. The league quietly began discussions about how to maintain competitive intensity while preventing personal feuds from overshadowing basketball. Perhaps most significantly, the exchange established new precedents for how superstars could interact across generations. Respect was no longer automatically granted based on past achievements. It had to be continuously earned through current performance and conduct. The Ja-LeBron dynamic became a template that other young stars would reference when facing criticism from established players. In the end, this wasn't really about LeBron James or Ja Morant. It was about the collision between old NBA culture and new NBA reality, between inherited respect and earned authority. LeBron learned that greatness from previous decades doesn't automatically grant you teaching privileges with current stars. His attempt to position himself as a wise mentor backfired because he underestimated Morant's confidence and the power shift happening in NBA culture. Morant proved that this generation of players won't accept condescension disguised as wisdom. His response wasn't disrespectful to LeBron's legacy, it was protective of his own dignity and accomplishments. The basketball world discovered that healthy competition requires mutual respect, not hierarchical deference. Both players emerged with their reputations intact, but with a better understanding of how modern NBA relationships actually work.